I'd like to start by thanking Oldham Community Radio for the invitation onto its annual Meet the Leader event. I appreciate that nobody likes to talk about the P word, and there must be people out there scrambling to change the channel as I speak. But there is no need for you to worry, as I will not be talking about politics. I intend to talk about Oldham, the state of the place, and why we are where we are. Now, I'm going to tell you things that no other leader or party ever will. But first, I better introduce myself. I'm Paul Taylor, originally from Salford, but have now lived in Oldham for over 20 years. Before I retired, I was the commander of Oldham Fire Service and spent most of my adult life looking after and protecting people right across Greater Manchester, as a firefighter and eventually a senior officer, until I ended up here in this great town, having married a Royton lass, as you would say. If you've ever had a fire, car crash, or spilt some toxic waste, got stuck in a precarious position somewhere that you shouldn't have been in Oldham Borough, then you'll have already met me. If you've ever considered joining the fire service, then I most likely interviewed you. That said, back to the point of today. Oldham is not the place that it was when I first arrived. Indeed, in many ways, it's taken a turn for the worse. So I decided to establish an alternative to the usual suspects that have let this town down for so long. As I did so, I realised we're not alone in being so badly run as a council, as there are bad councils that are yellow and blue, as well as red, right across Greater Manchester and beyond. So I registered Northern Heart in the hope of finding others just like me that were bothered enough to fight to protect those around them and their towns as well. You see, I agree with the most common reason that you all too often give me, as in to why you don't vote. They are all the same. Now, I'm going to tell you things that none of those usual suspects will ever tell you, and then leave it up to you to decide what you're going to do about it. So here goes. Most of you will not have had a single leaflet through your doors from any of those usual suspects for some years, and there's a reason for that. You see, as a registered party, we all have access to what's known as the March Registers, which is a list of all those that take the time to go down to a polling station or post a vote. Thing is, 7 out of every 10 of you are not voting, and those same usual suspects keep winning and ignoring your opinions year in and year out. You see, they are tribal and fixated on the colour of rosette, and they take their lead from someone in London rather than locally. So any great idea wearing the wrong colour rosette is dismissed out of hand, simply because the party that is in charge didn't think of it. You see, in every council meeting, it always turns out the same, a name-calling exercise. Consequently, we get foolish decisions, vanity projects, wasted money, rising council tax, littered streets, and an off-road driving experience right outside your front door. All combined with failing services and, of course, the multitude of those little pictures of the usual suspects gathered in some car park in the rain, telling you how well they were received by the community whilst out leafleting or picking up the litter. Now, you might have just done some quick arithmetic based on my earlier statement and worked out that, as a non-voter, you outnumber those that do vote by a factor of 2 to 1. If 7 do not vote and 3 do, it follows that there are 2 more non-voters for every voter. But it's actually far worse than that, because the 3 that actually do vote all vote for different usual suspects. So it works out that the non-voters outnumber the voters that decide the winner by a factor of 7 to 1. 7 more of you that don't vote than those that decided who you were going to have as your council leader and your council majority. Only about 1.25 people in every 10 decide the colour of the council that you are provided with. Is it any wonder that all the people you talk to around you, like your neighbours, your friends, your relatives, all agree with you that this place is in a mess? Thing is, the vast majority agree that the town is on the slide, and they would also like to see it turned around. The majority would like real consultation and real input into what their council tax is spent on. But alas, they're not using the most powerful weapon that they have, their vote. And so it goes on year after year, getting worse and worse, And those non-voters convince themselves it's all pointless, when if they just voted they would see the biggest landslide and ousting of councillors this nation has ever seen. So why do they not leaflet, you may ask? Well, the usual suspects do not leaflet you because they don't actually want you to start voting again. Because if you did, you most certainly would not vote for any of them. So they have left you alone behind your front doors because they are winning, and they allow you to think that you are a tiny majority, even though you are a 7-1 huge majority. Anyone listening that does not believe me, I am more than happy to come round for a quick cup of tea and prove it to you. Yes, I can prove it, beyond all doubt. Whether you are in an area that I have candidates, those being Waterhead, Cheriton Central and Alexandra, or not, because we have all the ward area roles for all of Oldham. The truth is, we at Oldham Heart, Northern Heart, only deal in truth. The usual suspects really do not want you to break that habit that you've fallen into of not voting. Because if you did, they would no longer be in charge, making those foolish decisions without asking you properly. Now there's a proverb that you should hold at the front of your mind about all that I've just told you. If you're not in control of what's being done to you and your town, then you need to control how you respond. Sitting behind that front door and not voting has not worked for nigh on 20 years. You need to act differently and then vote differently, because that message is the only message that the usual suspects understand and hear loud and clear. This time you have 3 votes. It's what they call an all-out election. Quite simply, that means that you can get rid of every one of those usual suspects on the 4th of May, if you just go and vote them out. Now you'll see me driving round the borough playing music from the top of my wife's Micra, asking you to go and vote this time. I cannot do any more than I am doing to make your lives better, protect you any more from what's being done. Nor can other local independent candidates that have also stood up to fight for you this time. This is up to you to break that habit, act differently than you normally do. This is a local election, and all I've seen from the usual suspects are national issues, because they have nothing else to offer Oldham. Even those national issues are regularly broken like pie crusts. My name is Paul Taylor. I care about Oldham enough to spend my retirement trying to save it again. Question is, do you non-voters care enough to spend 5 minutes going to vote for that heart logo or an independent in order to help me? Those of you that don't vote, and this is in wrapping up, are what I call the Magnificent Seven, as in the film title. If you'd just like to ride out to the polling station on May the 4th, you, the Magnificent Seven, can save Oldham.